Welcome to the Books of the Month show. I am Melanie, filling in for Bishop O.C. Pringle, and we are here today with Marc Hardage via video to talk about his book, The Knock. Hi, Marc. How are you?
I'm great, Melanie. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you for being here. So we're going to jump in and just start talking about your book, the first of your books, and it's called The Knock. It's here in my hands, and it feels really cool. How does it feel to have a book? To have a completed book project here?
You mean to tell us how it got started?
Yeah, sure,
Okay,
that'd be
well,
great.
It was several years ago. My oldest son was going through Navy SEAL training, and he was in BUDS class 258, and BUDS stands for Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL. And after he got through boot camp, he got the bid to go to BUDS in San Diego, and so his class started with 122. And by the time Hell Week was over, there was only 26 of them left.
Wow.
And so they call Thursday of Hell Week So Sorry Day, which means if you have to go ring the bell and you're out, then they say, so sorry, have a nice day. But anyway, so it's Thursday night of Hell Week, and I woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I thought, uh-oh, we didn't get a phone call this week, so he's got a good chance to make it.
Right.
So my little brother is a movie director, and he was in Manila filming a movie, and I don't have any idea what time it is in Manila, but I sent him an email, and he very rarely responds to my emails because he's always on a movie location somewhere. And so I just sent him an email at 3 o'clock in the morning in Oklahoma, and about 30 seconds later, he sends me an email back and said, hey, that's a really good idea for a story. You ought to write that down.
Right.
So I started writing it down, and it took about, 5 or 6 months to kind of get the story finished. And then I sent it to a couple of publishers, and finally one of the publishers here in Oklahoma called me back, and they said, that's really good. Would you like to come talk to us? And so I went over to their office, and we sat down, and they said, man, that's really good. We're going to publish it for you. And so there it is.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. It seems to have happened pretty quick for you. That's really cool. So the book is loosely based on your true story of your son. And so we are blessed to have this book here, The Knock, which touches on all of that, right? And so I see that you are from Norman, Oklahoma, and you're married for 34 years. Wow, awesome.
Well, now it's 40 years by the time.
40 years. Oh my gosh, I'm working on number 2, so I aspire to be just like you guys. And,
right.
And you have 3 sons, Seth, Ty, and Colt. Is any character in here based on, I know that nothing?
No, they're all in there.
They're all in there.
It's kind of the way the story kind of happened is my youngest son was a big soccer player here, and all of them were actually, but he was a big soccer player here in Oklahoma, and his team won the state championship. And so the story evolved is like, what would have happened if my oldest son really got all the way through the Navy SEAL training and was in Afghanistan and was killed in an accident?
Yeah.
Then what would happen? If somebody came to tell us about it. And that's where the story basically started. It's based upon the chaplain who comes to tell the family what happened, is a college friend of the father in the story, and it's kind of the story about what happens when they show up and so forth, and it just kind of how everybody in the family reacts to something like that. And it was kind of I have a couple of really good friends that are in the military, and one of the things that we talked about as the story was progressing is that, freedom really isn't free. Somebody has to pay for it, and that's kind of the idea behind the story is that, just kind of wanted to get that message out that it happens all too often every day in America.
Yes,
that's what the story's about.
Indeed. Well, coming from a soccer family myself, I play, my husband plays, all my kids play. It's a pretty cool story. And then my brother's in the Air Force, so I feel super connected, and I'm pretty interested to read this story because, like you said, it's loosely based on true story, but this is a true story for somebody somewhere every day. So I'm pretty excited about it. So let's just jump in and talk about who was involved in helping you get it all done, and just kind of how the snowball started.
That's a really good question. One of my friends is actually a real life Navy SEAL, and he was in Afghanistan, and he and I were talking via email about the story. And then I have another good friend who is a colonel in the Army National Guard here in Oklahoma. Just got promoted to general, by the way, last week.
Wow.
But he's a helicopter pilot, a Black Hawk and Chinook pilot.
Okay.
And then he has another friend who was a chaplain in the Army, and they were both stationed in Baghdad together. And so they all helped me with a lot of the things that are part of the story. He helped me with the helicopter sequences, and the chaplain helped me with the things that go on in the military when somebody actually is killed in action, and so what happens after that. And then one of the unique things that happened to the story is after it got published and all that, I have another really good friend who owns a radio station here in Norman.
Okay.
And he said, you know what we ought to do? We ought to have a book signing. And I went, okay. If you'll look on the inside cover, the people that wrote endorsements for me are one of my Navy SEAL friends, and then the colonel who's the military helicopter pilot, the major who helped me with the chaplain part of it, and then two of my good friends here in Oklahoma, Steve and Tinker Owens. Steve Owens won the Heisman Trophy in 1969.
Very cool.
And his little brother Tinker played on OU's national championship in 74 and 75. And so, as fate would have it, we decided to have this book signing. And we're like, okay, we'll do it at the mall right here in downtown Norman.
Right.
And lo and behold, everybody showed up.
Of course.
The colonel and the helicopter guy showed up. The major showed up. The Owens brothers showed up, and my Navy SEAL friend was in Afghanistan who flew in for it as well. So we had everybody there that day, and it was really kind of cool. We sold a lot of books that day, and we donated all the money to a charity here in Norman.
Oh wow! What charity was that you donated all the money to?
It's a Thunderbird Lodge. It's a home that helps people with mental illness and so forth, and so we donated all the proceeds to the Thunderbird Lodge that day. So it was very good.
Well, that was a great choice of charity, considering what actually happens to a lot of people after going through these kinds of things. And I think it's super cool that you included all these people who actually had real life experience in that environment, so that you could get the facts right and get the story right. Because that's one of the things I know. I know a lot of veterans, and one of the things they don't like is, like, especially a movie, for instance, is when, like, that's not how that works. That is not what they do. And so that's really cool that you thought that deep into it, and it's almost a respect thing. So
and it was very it was a blessing for me to have those guys be willing to help me. Right. And I'd call them and say, hey, how did this work, and how does that work? And they'd say, well, you need to fix this, you need to change that. And so at the end of the day, they had a lot of input into it, and all of them wrote the endorsements for me on the inside cover, which I greatly appreciated. And
that's huge.
It was good, yeah.
So did you have to go back and tweak a lot, or were you pretty close, or?
I was relatively close, but because we had talked about it at length before we started actually writing the story, and so everybody that helped me with it was very, very helpful to have all the information that I needed, so I didn't have to go back and go, now, is this really how it happened? But they were all very, very helpful, so I greatly appreciate their help, and also appreciate them being kind enough to write an endorsement for me.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things. It's always kind of like when you're scrolling through movies and you're going through things, reviews is kind of the first thing we go to, and for whatever reason, we will judge something based on somebody else's review. It's good, but also don't skip over me if I don't have a review. But you happen to have some really cool reviews and some really cool people involved in helping you make this book. So when did it become an idea for you to start this? When did it actually,
Like I said, the night that my son was going through Hell Week was when I went, okay, that's
a story.
And so then when I started talking to my little brother about it, he said, yeah, just write it all down. And so it took a while, but I wrote it all down, and then with the help of all those other people that in the military that helped me with all the information, after we got the story put together, I gave a copy of it to each one of them, and I said, if there's anything I need to change, I need to let me know.
Right.
And we did a little bit of tweaking, and then that's when I sent it to the publisher, and they called me back and said, hey, this is a great idea, so we'll do it. So
The Knock it's a cool title, because I feel like with people in my family who have been in the military, and just people I've known who've had people in the military, the knock is, and even in movies we've seen, we always know that when you get that knock at the door, that's, you know what I mean? And that's such a powerful thing. Maybe for somebody who doesn't know the powerful knock, can you explain to them this title and that whole scenario?
That's one of the things that happened, how the title came about. I was talking to my friend who's the chaplain, and he said, unfortunately, I've had to do that responsibility more than once.
Oh my God.
And he said it's very heart-wrenching when you walk up to somebody's door that you're going to tell them that one of their family members who's in the military has been killed in action.
Yeah.
And he said, when you raise your hand to knock on the door, he said, your heart's beating, and it's a
Oh, man.
very powerful emotion. And that's when I thought, that's a good title, so that's where we came up with it, and that's what happened.
It is. That's an emotional position for both sides of the door. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So it's kind of cool, and I'm glad it's fictional, but I'm glad it's based on true, because you never know. Somebody may need to read this book, and we'll probably get some some foresight, some healing. Who knows what may come out of this kind of book.
It's funny you said what you just said a second ago about it changes things for everybody on both sides of the door.
Mm-hmm.
And if you, I can't believe you said that, because that's exactly how the book ends, with the last sentence.
Wow. Wait, let me see. Let me find out. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. I'll read it for you. It says, he knew with all certainty that the lives of everyone on both sides of the door would be markedly changed forever by the knock. I had not even seen that. That's just, it's reality, right? That's really cool. So what is the plan for this book, and where do you see it going next? Is it a movie? What do you see next?
That would be great if my little brother could get on board.
You can have that for free.
Thank you very much. No, I just after we got finished with that, about 2 years later, I thought, I probably need to finish this story up.
Yeah.
And so that's when I came up with the other book that I wrote. It's just the follow-up is what happens a year later.
Yeah.
And there we are.
Cool. So how does your family feel about this book, and where have they been in the process of all this?
Well, it's kind of funny because everybody in the family's in there. As I was going through the process, I let all the boys take a look at it, and so, because they're all in there.
You might as well read about yourself.
Well, and it's funny, all of my friends who are here who've read the book, they know, I know who that is. I know who that is.
That's funny.
But it's kind of interesting. But I let everybody have a say in what they wanted to be their part of the story. But
cool.
It worked out really well. I was very, very pleased with it.
Very cool that everybody kind of got to make up their character, so to speak, right? That's
Sure
pretty
enough.
neat. So what is your favorite part of this book?
My favorite part is the interaction between the family members and their friends. The book takes place during a soccer party where the team is celebrating the state championship that they just won, and everybody's having a great time. And then all of a sudden, the chaplain shows up with some really bad news, and everybody's like,
Uh-oh.
"What's going on?"
Right.
All you do, the book starts with you see the chaplain park his car, and the dad looks out the window and goes, "That's my best friend. Wonder what he's doing here."
Oh, wow.
And all of a sudden, all the kids are playing in the background in the swimming pool, and all their friends are there, and they're like, "Uh-oh, what's going on now?"
Oh, wow.
And that's how everything, the interaction between all of the families, all the friends, and all the soccer players and their buddies and everybody, that's kind of what the gist of the story is all about.
Okay, well, that is actually a great place for us to stop and take a quick break. We'll be back in a few moments to finish talking about The Knock with Marc Hardage.
Okay, thank you.
Our Father, which art
The
in
words of the Bible are a guiding light for the faithful. Now, the spoken word of God can be heard anytime, anywhere. Introducing Wonder Bible, the incredible Bible that speaks.
the Lord is my shepherd.
Simply turn on your Wonder Bible, and a pleasant voice reads the book to you.
So then faith cometh by hearing.
Listen to the letters, gospels, psalms, and more.
I can do all things through Christ.
Own your Wonder Bible for only $39.99. Comes with a charging cable and built-in earphone jack. Free. Wonder Bible features 10 free preloaded meditation music tracks. There's more. For our best offer yet, you can double your offer. Just pay a separate fee. We'll even ship it to you free. 100% risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee. Order now.
To order the Wonder Bible for $39.99 plus processing and handling, call 1-800-958-7004 or order online at wonderbible.com.
Welcome back to the Books of the Month show. I'm Melanie, and I'm still here with Marc Hardage talking about The Knock, which is an awesome book that I'm excited to get to read. And so we're going to pick right back up about the soccer party, if you want to jump right back in there and tell me how the rest of that goes.
Okay. The way, we live in a small town, but it's a college town. And OU, University of Oklahoma, is here. But over the years, after we moved up here from Texas, my boys were all playing soccer, and we started having soccer events, as we call them. at someone's house. And so based on the story is kind of based upon a soccer event that we actually had at my house, and all of the kids and their parents and all of their friends show up, and from time to time it could be 30 or 40 people at a party, you know. And so everybody brings something to eat. I'll usually cook on the grill, or whatever they want to bring, we'll grill it, and all of the kids are playing, and they're, you know, depends on whose house we're at. Somebody has a swimming pool. They're
That
all
sounds
swimming.
awesome.
It is awesome, and it's really it's fun. And we got to the point where over the years we'd do it,
Yeah.
7 times a year. And so because we had so many parties, everybody's like, boy, this is a lot of fun. We're really having a good time. And so that just seemed kind of a natural fit to tie the story around something that everybody was so familiar with.
Yes.
It's like, boy, you know, we do this all the time. Everybody's very close friends, and the players are all very close friends, and they've been together on the same team for a long time. And so it was kind of like, you know what, we can tie this in where all of the families, all of the friends, all of the players, all of their buddies will be there when the knock happens. And then we can see how as the knock is getting ready to happen,
right,
you can see the interaction between all the players, all the families, all the friends are like, oh, wow, what's fixing to happen now? And that's kind of how the story goes by. It talks about each person and how this event is going to affect their life,
right,
and how the players are going to be affected because their buddies, brother, obviously something's happened to him, and they're all close friends. And then the older brother's there with all of his friends, and they're like, wow, this is going to be a something that's going to impact all of us for a long, long time. Like I said at the end of the book, like you just read a minute ago, you know, it changes the lives of everyone. And like we already talked about, you know, people that are in the military, and this knock on the door happens all too often. And that's one of the things I wanted to make sure that everybody understood, is that truly enough, freedom is not free.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of military people that are sacrificing for all of us every day.
Yeah, I think it's actually really cool how you incorporated like normal life with such a serious incident, because that's really how it happens. You're never prepared. You're never sitting around waiting for such drastic news to happen. You're typically doing normal life. And so that's kind of, I can almost visualize, you know, that scene, you know, that's very, very cool. I like that.
It's funny, Melanie, that you mentioned you can visualize that scene, because that's exactly what happened to me when I was writing the story.
Yeah.
I kept seeing, you know, all of my buddies and all of our friends were actually, we've done this so many times, it was really pretty easy for me to go, I know exactly how that person would react. I know exactly how that person would react. I know how the players would react and how they would treat their youngest, you know, teammate whose events happening to his family. And so it wasn't that hard to write it all down, but you're right, it is a very emotional story.
Yeah. So then the takeaway also is, when you know an author, be cautious how you are, because he's going to write your true life, right? He's going to mix it into your story. That's really cool. So then let's talk about kind of the end. So like going towards from the party and the knock, going on towards the end.
Okay. Well, as the party's going along, and then what happens is somebody comes up to the dad and go, hey, there's a car out in front, and there's 2 military guys out there. And the father goes, what in the world?
Yeah.
And he kind of has a thought in the back of his mind, like, uh-oh, you know, something might be south here. Something may not be right. And as he looks out the window, he recognizes that his best friend, who is a chaplain, is walking up the door. And they went to college together, you know, 30 years ago. So they're best friends from a long, long time ago.
Right.
And all of a sudden it dawns on him that why he's coming to the door to tell everybody.
Right.
And then as that part of the story goes along, then some of the players are playing in the backyard, and they look through the fence and they see what's going on, and they start talking to each other like, oh, there's 2 military guys out in front. What's going on here? And as they start talking to each other, some of the other parents who are all outside the word goes around.
Right.
You know, like something's going on out in the front yard. What's going on? And as the dad kind of starts to figure out what's happening, he's like, oh man, this is not going to be good. And then they start talking to the other parents, the players start talking to each other, and it kind of goes from there.
Yeah.
And then that leads up to the very end of the story, like you just read a minute ago.
Yeah.
The knock on the door.
That's really cool. And although it feels like you just told the whole story, you know how kind of like when you watch a movie, but then, or like most people read a book before they watch a movie, but
Yeah.
they get upset because there's stuff in the book that's not in the movie. So although
Right.
it feels like you just, visualize and painted us a movie, I know that there's stuff in here that you skimmed over the details and the story, the behind the scenes part of people is still
Yeah.
in here. That's cool. That's cool. So,
Yeah, you're exactly right. So I'll be, and I love it when people do read the story
Yeah.
and they come up to me and go, and not to pat myself on the back, but they come up to me and go, man, that was really good. I really enjoyed that. And so I'm like, well, thank you very much. So
Yeah.
and it means a lot to me when, especially somebody that I don't know, that somebody one of my friends gave them a copy of it, and they'll go, and I'll meet them later or somewhere, and they'll go, man, that was really good. You did a great job of that. So
well, that's exciting. So this is your first book that you've written?
yes.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I'm really interested to get in there and read it and kind of get the behind the scenes story, and like I can see this being a movie. I think you should look into that. Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool. So you have a second book, and that's in relation to this book, The Knock. Tell me what that one's called.
It's called The Healing.
Okay.
And it's the story about what happens a year later. The chaplain and his wife come back to see the family,
Okay.
and a whole year has passed, and it kind of talks about the events that have happened with the brothers,
Right.
with the mom and dad, the family, and the brother that was killed
Yeah.
has a wife and now a new baby that was on the way.
Oh.
And it
gets
talks about the
juicy.
relationship
Wow.
with all of the parents, with their daughter-in-law and the new baby, and then it has how the brothers are reacting with their friends, and it's called The Healing because it kind of
Yeah.
follows up what happens a year later, and I was very proud of it too. I think it kind of ties the story together and kind of says, okay, here's what happened, and here's how it ends up.
Right. So who is your target audience for The Knock and The Healing? Who are you looking to reach?
That's a really good question, Melanie. Mostly families, especially military families, but because that's I've been so blessed with my life to have such a wonderful family. My parents are still alive, and they're both 84 years old, and I have my 3 boys, and now I have 2 little grandsons that are just
yay.
awesome. And but it's just families. It talks about the closeness of the family and how they help each other through this disaster, if you will, but how they help each other cope with what happened.
Yeah, for sure. Tragedy always brings people closer together. Unfortunately, but fortunately, there's kind of a good and bad of that. So that's
True.
it's a cool thing. And I think that even for people who maybe don't have people in the military, I mean, tragedy happens. You fill in the blank. You can take the military part out and you can fill it in with anything, right?
Yeah.
And then tragedy, happens, and then people realize like, oh, wait a minute, we don't have forever, and we need to come back together. So it's kind of a cool book, and I like that it's loosely based on all of the truth. It's a pretty cool twist and turn of it.
And it's kind of neat there because the family is a family of faith, and they kind of talks about how
that's huge.
Gets them through the process and gets them through the event and so forth. So I was very, very proud of the whole.
Good. I can see you're glowing when you talk about it. That's really awesome. And then the faith part of it is also the super, super awesome part of it. Because like I said, if you just take the faith part of it and apply that to any aspect of life, because tragedy could be a job loss. Tragedy could be whatever, you know what I mean? An Achilles tendon broken. It could be anything. So that's really awesome. And I'm really excited to read the book. And I'm excited to also read the second book so that I can follow up and get all the details and learn more about this story. And I'd really, really be interested in seeing this. I really think it'd be a cool movie. I really do. So you have some great people. You want to give any shout outs to anybody, the special people that were helping you complete this?
Yeah, I mean, the people who helped me with all of the information, okay to mention their name?
Yeah, absolutely.
General John Harrison helped me with the helicopter part of it. He was the colonel at that time when the book was being written, and he just got promoted last week to brigadier general.
Cool.
And he, like I said, is the Chinook and Black Hawk pilot, so he helped me with all that. And then Major Teddy Wilson was a real good friend of mine that helped with all of the chaplain part of it. And then my Navy SEAL buddy, I'm not going to mention his name, he wouldn't want that, but
Right.
he really helped. He really helped a lot with all of the SEAL part of it. And of course, my oldest son helped me with the part about the going through buds and all that and so forth. And then got to thank Stephen Tinker Owens. Those guys helped me a whole lot with the with the book signing. And then I have another real good friend named Randy LaFoon, who actually owns the radio station that put all of the book signing together that day. So it was a really good deal, and I'm just so blessed that my family was all there to help with it, and then all of the friends that I have were there as well. So it was a great day.
Well, awesome. I'm glad you had all of those people and the support system you had so that we can have this great book, The Knock by Marc Hardage. And this has been an episode of the Books of the Month show. And again, his name is Marc Hardage, and The Knock is his book that you can purchase. Where can you purchase it?
You can get it online on Amazon, or if you go to www.markhardagebooks.com, and it's MARCHARD, like my name on there.
Yes.
It's www.markhardagebooks, all one word.com. You can order it there.
Awesome. Y'all go get this book. Well, Marc, it's been a pleasure, and I thank you for joining me today to discuss your book. And we also would like to thank you for joining in. Come back again for another episode of the Books of the Month show.